Welcome back to another episode of PI, aka Parent Involved. I'm your host, Jamie. If you guys are new here, I have 3 children that range all the way from a preschooler up to a recent high school graduate. So this channel is mainly about the experiences I've gone through or I've witnessed, I've learned along the way, and just want to share back with everyone on my point of view of how things have been trying to raise 3 kids, making sure I stay involved in their everyday activities and just making sure to be available to them in order to nurture their growth, nurture their interests, nurture their desires. If you are new here, I am on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram, which is at parentinvolved_pod. And also YouTube. I will be posting video podcast episodes in the near future. So if you guys follow me, you'll be able to see updates there as well. So we'll go ahead and get into it. So the topic for today is discussing parenting tips and strategies for different age groups. So pretty much what I'm going to be discussing is just what I've done in order to help my kids grow at different age levels. It is different between each child. So if you have a toddler, preschooler, if you have a elementary or middle schooler, and if you have a high school / recent adult, definitely I'm going to hit a couple of those points that I found to be helpful. So I usually always start down from the bottom. So I will start with the preschool age just because I do have a recent pre-K graduate. So I do want to discuss what has helped her along her journey, even though it's been, 4 short years. It's definitely something that's more recent. I mean, I do have, my oldest is 18, but of course she hasn't been in preschool or pre-K. It's been a long time, 12 plus years. So just with my youngest, I'll be able to discuss how things have gone with her. And then hopefully I can provide some tips that might be helpful. All right. So with a preschooler, of course, they're learning so many things, not just at home, but if they go to outside care, daycare, or early education type environment, like a classroom, then they're going to be learning a lot from where they spend the most time. So what I've noticed is that my daughter initially, I've always really had her in a daycare setting just because I do have a full-time job. So she never really stayed at home as far as when it came to school and learning. Now, once the pandemic hit, of course, that all changed and she was at home where there was less of a structured learning, but we did, everyone in the house just kind of interacting, teaching her things, interacting with her. And I will say that she is considered an iPad kid or a tablet or electronic gaming, whatever you want to call it. She is that kid. And I won't even deny it. I'm not going to act like she has limited screen time because she really does not. At the end of the day, everyone's going to parent the way they feel. We can't really judge a parent. You don't know really anyone's in-depth situation because, some parents, they just don't have the time or they need that extra, maybe a TV. Some kids watch a lot of TV. And we do want to encourage the outside time to grow and play and stretch and exercise. But at the end of the day, if you are a working parent, as I've experienced myself as a working parent, it is difficult to make that time, to go outside sometimes. Or if you're not really a physical person, it is difficult to get in that mindset where you need to take a step outside of your home and you need to, provide your child the space to be able to have more physical activity outside. So with that being said, I do encourage, or I would advise people, if you are able to, make the time. We do go to the park, at times. I won't say it's something that we do regularly, but it is something that there was a point in time, especially during the pandemic, where we would go to the park when there weren't many people or no one out there at all. Because I just remember, we used to go to the skate park just to get out the house so she could walk around, pushing her little doll stroller. And that was really her time to be physical and just get the fresh air and outdoor exercise. I would say a few months. So I think I put her in daycare probably around the 3-month mark, I believe. So around the 3-month mark is when she first started going to a daycare. And then the pandemic hit, which was 2020. So she was less than 2 years old by that time. So she was less than 2. So that meant from 3 months to about 1.5, she was in a daycare setting. So she was getting all of the interaction with other kids, learning how to be social, learning how to share, learning, different things that they teach in the daycare setting. Now in daycares, it really depends on what type of daycare it is, because some are just gonna watch the kids. They're not gonna really teach them anything. It's just them watching them, making sure they are fed, go to sleep, and that, they don't get hurt in that environment. There are some that are much better, much more, almost like they're putting them in the pre-K or preschool program earlier. And those are the ones I like, because those ones actually help where they may not get that learning one-on-one at home. So that's the one that she was in for the last about 1.5 years, where they had a program outside. It was attached to the school, but it was not inside the elementary school. And it was called an early education program. So EEP is what it was called. And that's out here in California. If you guys want to look it up, it's definitely a good program because it's prepping them for kindergarten. So it's mainly focused on getting them ready with their ABCs, sight words. They're even doing sight words, learning to write, just a lot of things that I did not have my other children in. I think with my son, which is now going to the 5th grade, but he did not have that kind of program. His daycare was more, it didn't include a lot of what this early program included for my youngest. So with him, they were more of, they did a lot of activities though. They did a lot of internal activities, played together. They went on field trips, but when it was time for him to go to kindergarten, he definitely was not as prepared as my youngest. And that's something that I noticed. Even the paper that he would bring home was not what my youngest brings home. So the reason why that occurred with my middle child is because I didn't know better. Now that my youngest has gone through the program, now I'm looking back and saying, okay, I should have chose a different program or a better program similar to what she has now. The program before with what he had was not on that same level. So it is, with my oldest, it's a little bit different. She was always pretty smart, pretty book smart. She caught on real quick. I remember there was this one time, and this is just, this doesn't have to do with actual reading or writing, but the way that I knew that she was a quick learner or just very smart child is when it was time for kindergarten and she didn't know how to tie her shoes. So I never taught her how to tie her shoe up until the first day of school, which, okay, bad on my part. But that was the first day I remember saying, okay, they're not going to help you tie your shoe. You're too old. You're now in elementary school and they're expecting you to know how to tie your shoes. So that morning, I remember we were getting ready. We were basically heading out the door. And I said, look, this is how you do it. Put the 2 bunny ears and tuck one under. And I had her try it. I did it a couple times. I had her try it and she got it. Right then and there, one day, less than probably 5 minutes, we were working on it. And that's how I knew she was a quick learner. So throughout the years with her, as going through elementary, I remember even with my son, I always used to bring it up because with my oldest, I think once or twice, but other than that, I never had to help her with her homework. And that was with my son every day, especially during the pandemic. Well, even right before when he started kindergarten, every day I had to help him with his homework. Even through the whole pandemic, every day I helped him with his homework. And that was probably until 3rd grade. 3rd grade, so 2 years ago, that's when he started doing his homework on his own. And it was more of he was doing it and I was saying, okay, you're going to do it or you're going to try. And then you're going to bring it to me and I'll check it. And then, I'll help you from there. But before that, we would work every homework assignment together. And I don't know if it was because of the pandemic or if it was just because he wasn't as prepared as maybe other children were when they went to kindergarten, but definitely I could see the difference, going from my oldest to my middle child. And then now with my youngest going to kindergarten, I mean, I'll see more once she gets there, how it's going to be when she has actual homework. But as far as her level, where she is right now, I'm really confident that she's going to do just fine. I mean, I think she'll be up there on my oldest level, to be honest. But I mean, that just goes to show you, there's so much. You have to be very open-minded and you have to research early on because, if you move to different areas, it's going to be a whole different school system, school requirements, school testings that you have to learn about in order to make sure that you choose the right program or the right path. You get the right resources involved so that your kids don't fall behind. And I think that's what happened with my middle child, is that he was not prepared enough and he was already behind when he started kindergarten. So he kind of got left, but he has definitely caught up now. I'm very much so proud of him. Just want to say that because after getting his latest test results, which were for the last year, his fourth grade year, he met all of the standards. And I know before that he was definitely struggling at a point. And to see that he has met the standard and without me helping every day with homework, with that being said, that shows that, what he is learning, he is retaining that information, not just, okay, mom's helping me and I got the answers and I turn in my work. And, because when it comes down to testing, of course, I'm not there. And that's how you can tell if he actually is learning it because of the test results. So I can say, I am very much proud that he has met all of his test scores for this latest year. So I know I kind of skipped around, but just going back to the preschooler, we want to foster, just going back to the preschooler tips and strategies, definitely. I mean, like I said, even though she is quote unquote the iPad type kid, she is ready. She knows her ABCs. If I tell her to write the letters, she can write the letters. So I'll see more when it comes to actual kindergarten and homework and how she does in that grade. But as far as right now, I feel confident she's very much prepared. Now, encouraging imaginative play and creativity, that has come, both with me buying her toys and then when she is interactive on the iPad or watching TV. I mean, she doesn't watch a lot of TV these days, but she very much likes games that have, hand-eye coordination. She does have to learn how to complete tasks on the game. So there's games on there that she has to basically strategize on how to win. And so I think that is helping her a lot when it comes to, being creative in her own way that will help her in the future. Now, I'm not saying to go ahead and get your kid an iPad or put a phone in front of them, but I'm just saying that this is something that we shouldn't it is 2023. The world is a lot different than how it used to be, back in the 90s. I mean, even in the 90s, my mom made sure that we always had, some type of game system. I remember me and my brother both had a Game Boy, if anyone remembers those. And then he got the Nintendo. So he pretty much from there, Nintendo 64, Sega, he always had the new gaming system. That was just something that it was something that was popular back then. And so whatever was popular, we were able at some point in time, we were able to get those game systems. So I don't think, and I'm going to say this too, my brother's very, very smart. I mean, I think he's one of the smartest individuals that I know as far as applying his mind. If he wanted to, I think he definitely could be be an engineer or, he just, his brain, the way that it works, he's very self-sufficient. So whenever, there was some type of issue with the VCR or the TV, I knew to contact my brother and he would be the one to come fix it. So he was like our handyman. Even now, he does his own, if something's wrong with his car, alternator, oil change, he just does it. He has no kind of official training, but he does it. I mean, with no problem. He watches a video and he's very, I mean, he has the mindset to be able to do things. So that just goes to show you, even if we were raised on electronics, even my firstborn, she had an iPod. She had those Kindles. I think we had like 5 Kindles because something would happen with one and she'd get another one. But even her, she always had an electronic as well. And her grades, she was a straight A student her last year of high school. And throughout, her high school year, I think, she pretty much maintained almost all A's and a B through almost the whole 4 years. So we can't count out the iPad kids because that's kind of where we're at in society. Everything's on electronics. So I think there's a lot of debate that goes on around whether we should limit, because I mean, every time I go to the doctor, my kid's pediatrician, they say limit screen time. And then we see it online, the social media. Oh, my kid's not going to be an iPad kid. So they're trying to, encourage them to go play outside more. But at the end of the day, I think every family, every household is going to have their own beliefs. And they're actually going to experience different things based on what type of structure they have in the home. If you don't have that time or that energy to, make sure that your kids are going outside, if they're safe while they're outside, because that's a big thing. You want to make sure it's not like how it used to be where you just send your kids out there, go play, and then come home before dark when the street lights come on. That's not how it is. And I think more parents are aware because of the access we have to online, videos, online. It's just everywhere that we see the predators in our face. And that's going to be the main reason. For me, it's the main reason why I don't trust just sending my kids out there, to go play and come back when it's dark. You just never know. Even though we had the news back then and it was so limited to what we saw on the news. Of course, the media, we know, everyone knows how the media works. It's controlled. We only see what they show us. And so with social media, it's more, they're posting everything. Everything's getting posted. And sometimes things that we never even would have never known about, it's readily available with just a swipe. So I think it's something that's really should be a big consideration as to why there are so many iPad kids these days. And really, if it's not hurting the kids, because I'll say this, I have an 18-year-old and she's done well. I have had to go through her, go through the phone. I've been that parent where I'm going to go through, at a certain age range. I definitely was that parent where I go through just to check what she's been doing. I do encourage that parents do that now and again because you just never know and you don't want to become complacent and reliable on electronics because we do know things can happen. But as long as we are involved and aware, being interactive with our kids, talking to our kids about everything that's going on, safety, being protected, I think that is going to help minimize putting your child in danger, if you are allowing them to be on an iPad or being on a phone more often than not. So, with this topic, it is just it's going to be very debatable because everyone is going to have their way of raising their kids. I knew a family that didn't allow their kids to watch TV at all. They had a middle schooler that never got to watch TV. So, it's that's extreme to me. But of course, for that family, it was protecting them. They were protecting them from everything that was going on in the world or everything that the media, that the TV networks, everything that was trying to be pushed off on your kids. Because even now, there's so many cartoons and movies, shows. There's just so much. And there's supposed to be kid shows at that. There's just so much out there should not be for kids. And I will say that because I look at TV and I'm like, oh no. Things that, is a part of the world, because I won't get in depth about it. And it's a part of our society at this point, but it's being pushed off even in the cartoons is where it's just, I could understand why some parents would ban TV from their kids. So, I mean, just cartoons are not even safe anymore. There's always an underlying. I mean, I'm looking at some shows on Disney, and you know how they have like on TikTok, they'll have things that we missed as kids, and then they replay it, and it's like, oh my goodness, this we never know, and it's real cringe, and it's real like sus, but it's definitely an eye opener. I think that's number one. It's an eye opener to see that there was so much being pushed off even to us as children, and then but with us being more aware, I think that helps us be more protective of our children. So definitely, I don't put all my trust in electronics or TV, but I won't say, I mean, my daughter, my youngest, does have a lot of screen time. Her screen time is not limited. During school, I have started to try to limit it. I put the timer on there. But I'll just say sometimes we extend it. So, I mean, I can be considered a pushover, but at the same time, you know, after 3 kids, you learn where to pick they say, you know, pick your battles in life, especially when if you're with someone in a relationship, or even if it's with your kids, you know, you pick your battles. And I'm not the type, I don't want to be, or I've never wanted to be that person that's just stressed out all the time and I'm just bickering all the time. I try not to be. I know there's some things that really irk me that I have to, you know, I just can't hold it in, and it just goes off after I've said after I've repeated myself multiple times, like do this, do that, and I can't take it anymore. But when it comes to electronics, TV, hey, turn your TV off, hey, no more iPad, it's time to get off your phone, things like that. At some point, I mean, of course, you know, with small kids, you have to try to teach them early on so they have good habits later. Because I know that, you know, with my son, I would say for him, he started he was the one to first have like a phone early on in life. So I would say, you know, 4 years old, he was with my phone all the time. I know my daughter, she wasn't like that until about, I would say, I remember her first electronic that she got to be on a lot was an iPod. She had her own personal iPod. And I would say that was I would say around 8 years old is when she got her first personal electronic, and that was an iPod. And now with my son, I think he could have been 3 or 4, and he had his own personal, like a phone, tablet, a Kindle. You know, it started earlier with him. And then I would say with my daughter, my third child, you know, it could have even started earlier, maybe 2. Because I think, you know, when I was doing her hair, 1 years old, she was with watching her shows, Cocomelon, you know, watching TV, watching phone song, you know, her show, I would say Cocomelon was the main thing that she would use the phone for. After about a couple years, then she started to play games on there more and started, you know, watching YouTube videos. So, you know, after a while, I think, yeah, the age got shorter, and I definitely think it's because of the way the society is now. Everything is more on, you know, streaming. It's not just TV anymore. I don't think anyone in my house just sits and watch regular TV. I mean, we watch the streaming channels, but even those, we don't watch them every single day. There's either YouTube or we're watching videos, shorts on TikTok. So that's just the way that things are now. And I think we all have to take that into consideration. It's called evolving around, you know, what's going on in the world. And if it's not hurting, because like I said, even with my daughter, my oldest, you know, she's going off to college. She maintained good grades. She's never given me, you know, that hard time where I was looking for her, like, hey, you're supposed to be home. Where are you? Like, I couldn't get in touch with her, something like that. I've never had to experience that. I'm knock on wood. So it's just, I think it's a matter of when we do allow them to have that much screen time, that we still be involved with them and not rely on the time that they spend on those electronics to deter us from having conversations with them about safety, about being protected, just making sure that they're not doing anything that could put them at jeopardy. Because I know with me, I definitely have a lot of talks. That's why I have a podcast, because I do talk, even though I'm not an extrovert, I'm introvert. But when it comes to my kids, I'm very expressive with my words. I mean, they know I can talk all day and just go on and on about something. So I think that's important, as long as they know. I mean, if they never hear it from you, they never had the conversation, then it's easy to, go down a wrong path or go astray just because they're not aware. They're not aware of possibilities of things that could happen. So other than that, I just wanted to, provide my experience on the iPad kids, why I don't feel that being an iPad kid is necessarily, just a bad thing, even though, I do see a lot of videos, social media videos that say, oh, I'm doing this because I'm not going to have no iPad kid. I've seen a lot of those, to be honest. People do what they do. People raise their kids the way they're going to raise them. But just from my experience, just on my side, I just wanted everyone to share my point of view about it. So you guys can take that, with a grain of salt. And of course, if you have any questions, definitely you can reach me in my direct messages on Instagram at parentinvolve_pod. Also, if you haven't already, you can still follow me on TikTok for updates on, new videos. I try to reach my base through there. But other than that, guys, thank you for listening in. I do appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to this new episode. And just remember, every week, every Tuesday, 7 a.m. Pacific time, I'll be uploading new episodes. This is the first season, so I will break it out in seasons because, there's a lot of things that go on in my life. So I do want to make sure I cut and have the break between the seasons, but I'm deciding on whether there'll be like a month in between or not. I'll have to see, what the average time usually is. But definitely thanks again for listening in. I hope you guys have a great day.